Recording. Okay. It's recording right now. So, Elena, would you like to start? Or would
yes, just move to the next slide. Good evening, everyone. Today is not kind of like other section, which is kind of lecture and overview. Today, the plan is to go through the Spark tutorial, which is hands-on. You have to learn all the detail in order to be able to work with Spark. So as you know, this is very small assignment, small in sense, not in the time spent, because you are going to learn, and whatever you learn in this, let's say, low weight assignment, because this is just to study the technology, the software related with Spark, which you will use later in what is the next major assignment, which is assignment 2, which will open only you have submitted the tutorial in the assignment folder. By the way, I see already people in 94 submitting the tutorial, and that means they already have access to assignment 2 and they can work on that. And Elena has prepared some useful advice. I'm going to give her the word regarding the question, regarding the high-level step in Spark tutorial, and you will have the opportunity to ask direct question because you already have your hand dirty, let's put it this way, working with this technology. Elena?
Yes. So, basically, I need to remind you, well, do I need to remind you that, but I do, how to ask effective questions. So whenever something does not go as unexpected, you need to submit the Salesforce case, but you have to explain exactly what's the problem. What should I do to reproduce the issues that you're getting? Like, I'm trying to do this and I'm getting that instead. And you need to provide the screenshots, okay? Like, for example, it cannot tell me that, hey, the kernel is not starting, right? Well, you need to submit a screenshot. And what exactly are you doing? I need to see if you're using correct environment, right? That's one thing. So you have to provide as much details as you can, okay? Well, most of you have been doing an excellent job, and I want to say thank you, but that's something to watch for. Now, I'm a broken record, right? So what not to do? Please do not deactivate your IBM Cloud account, okay? Because there's nothing you can do. You know, you cannot get another code until like end of December. Please do not enter credit card information. And please do not delete the object storage unless you're instructed. Remember how when you create a first project, right, you create an object storage. That's a place where the data, project data and project notebook are stored. If this is deleted, there are problems because it's not deleted completely from the front end. So please don't delete it. Let's say it simple. Please do not contact IBM. We had students in the past who reported the code errors to IBM. They're not going to do your homework. Please don't do that. Then do not post the graded code in discussion. Well, that applies to the graded exercises because it's unfair if you worked hard on it and you put the code in a discussion before the work is due. That's not fair, okay? Don't do that. Now, please do not try not to open a notebook in multiple browsers because you might end up running the same environment multiple times without realizing. And here, do I need to tell you that? Well, please do not share your work with your current and future students. Please don't do this. You're not helping them. You're getting them in trouble because Turnitin will catch person who submits the second, right? So you submit and someone else submits the work that you do, their code, not you, okay? So please don't share the work. Plus, assignment can change. They're gonna go bank submit your work without checking for change. It's easier to catch, right? Okay, now enough of that. This is just for you, the cheat sheet on where to post the questions. General questions about the due date, right? And how the work will be graded, non-software questions, syllabus questions that goes in the classroom. Here is a list, just an example of questions that should go to the Salesforce. Like you have an issue with the runtime environment, you've got some code errors, you need help with ungraded SQL exercises, etc. Right? And then if you have a problem, if you have questions about your grade, you email it to instructor. But I need to tell you something, guys, from personal experience. This is from my personal experience. If you do raise concerns about your points, etc., sometimes when your work is reevaluated, your grade can go down, not just up. So be careful. It's from my personal experience. When you complain about when you report something about the grade and the teacher evaluates it, your grade could go down, not just up. So just be aware of it from experience, okay? Now, next thing, okay. This is a high-level steps in a tutorial. You have to log into your Cloud Pack, right? And you're gonna use your credentials that you used to set up your IBM Cloud account. Do you remember that? 2 weeks ago, you set up the IBM Cloud account, and you need this for this assignment, right? You use a Cloud Pack. Cloud Pack is an integrated environment where you use to build AI applications, right, and manage trained models. So, and one of your questions is the difference between the environment, right, and the software. So, Cloud Pack is an environment. That's a place, a set of software where you use to run the application, right? So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna create an empty project. What's a project? It's a placeholder, if you will, for the notebooks and for the data, right? It's everything that related to the project. It will be stored in that project. It's basically like well, you can think of it as a directory, right? When you write in your code, you put everything in the same folder, like your notebooks and your data, etc. Right? But this is in a virtual environment. It's called a project. If this is your first project, you will be asked to create an object storage. All right. If it's not your first project, then object storage will be pre-populated for you. There is only one storage. And there is a setting that you need to check, the storage delegation, and it's in instructions. You want to make sure that those options are checked. Otherwise, you won't be able to add notebooks, all right? Then you have to add data to the project, and then you need to add and run the notebook. They're important steps, and your runtime environment needs to be correct. And what I'll do today is I'll show you what to do if you selected the incorrect runtime environment, because this is very important and it's a little bit tricky how to fix. All right. And then, well, here are the steps, and this is also in the instructions how to add data. And I'm going to go ahead and walk through that. I'm not going to run the whole notebook because then your instructors would need to submit the tickets to add me to their gradebook, right? If I do your homework, then I have to be graded, not you. Okay, so, well, this is what we're gonna use. It's a data platform. Well, you see, I have a lot of projects since I've been doing it for a very long time. So I've been kind of like doing demo and testing it on my end, right? But what you'll need to do is you need to create the new projects, and there are multiple ways to do it. Do you see this? It says create projects over here. Oops. So here is a list of projects too. This is another way. Here is my list of projects. I can click new project here. Or alternatively, when I was on the home page, right, on the main page, see this in the main page, I see create project here. So I can click here, or I can be on a page with all my projects and click add new projects. There is more than one way to do that. So if you're doing, sometimes if you're doing differently from instructions, well, you might end up doing it correctly too. So, okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I need to create an empty project, right? And let's gonna call this fall 2021, and I'm just call it as Spark tutorial session, right? Well, okay. And the description is optional. Now, question, why do you think this is populated? Huh? Anybody, do you think why? Think about it. Because what? This is my first project? No. So this is pre-populated. I have object storage. One thing to note is that this is easy. Well, this is a unique service name. So your object storage name is going to be slightly different. You see it easy here, you could be ZE or something else. This is a unique service name, so don't get confused with this. This leave as is, description is optional. Okay, I'm going to hit create. Well, let's see what it's going to do. So project basically has assets page, usually lists the what you have, the components that you have in the project, which could be the data files and the notebooks, right? This is the assets page. Right now, I don't have anything in here, right? And here are available environments in general. And in this section, you're gonna see environments that are currently active right now. This is important. Here, it shows me the hours that I used in this project. It does not show me the hours that I used this month, okay? So you get 50 capacity unit hours, right? You get 50 capacity unit hours per month. It's not a limitation, it's a privilege. So basically, when you run in the notebook, it consumes 1.5 capacity units per each clock hour, okay? And it's also in the slides. But the numbers that you see here inside the project, this is time you spent in the project, not the time you spent as a whole in a month, okay? Just remember that, okay? Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna pretend to be you, right? And I'm gonna go in the classroom and I'm gonna show you what you need to do to download. Well, I'm right now in session 9040, but session 9041 should have the same thing. So take a look at this. You have this data, right? I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna download it. I want to download it without opening, right? So, oops, let me do this. I'm gonna save it on my desktop, right? I'm gonna save it on the desktop just for it to be easy. I already had this file, so I just overwrite. Okay, well, but in your case, you're not gonna have a copy of the file. You should not be. Okay, so you save it where you know where you save it. This is the notebook file, right? So I'm gonna do this right now, and I'm gonna do save link as. Well, the idea is you need to save the link, you need to save it, but you don't want to be overriding it. You don't want to be, I'm sorry, you don't want to be opening it, okay? Well, you guys also have a quiz, and you have the tutorial answer sheet, okay? So all the questions that you have to answer should go where? Answer sheet, right? It should go to answer sheet. It's just a better way to do it. Now, so I saved it, right? What should I do next? I need to go back to my project, right? This is my project. Next thing, well, if you remember the slide where I had the high level steps, right? So my object storage is created, right? I created the project. Storage delegation. So we need to check to make sure that I have a storage delegation, right? So that's gonna be under the administration. Okay, this is a storage delegation. Okay, now here, well, there are a couple checkboxes that you need to have checked, right? And it's in the instructions. So see this, that's you're gonna follow. If it's not checked, you're gonna check it. For me, it's checked because I already did another project. I already did more projects here. Now, here, over here, you're gonna see this is a project that you had recently opened. In my case, it was this, right? Don't pay attention to the test. I had to do testing before. Before you got a copy of the notebook, I did testing. So that's why you see two projects. Now, well, what we need to do right now is we need to add the data to project. So how do we gonna do this? See this? Here, you're gonna do find and add data. You can drag and drop the file, or you can also do this. You can browse, and then you're gonna go to the desktop where you save the file, or if you don't want to use desktop, it does not matter. You can use whatever you want to use. And this is the files that I want to upload, right? It's in here. Upload successful. But where did it get actually uploaded? It's uploaded in a bucket in object storage, right? Well, okay, now I have to see, I need to go to this page, assets. This page is going to list the files that I have uploaded, right? Next step is going to be a little bit more challenging, and you have to pay undivided attention here, okay? They're going to add the notebook, but when you add the notebook, you must choose the correct environment. You must choose the correct environment. This is non-negotiable. Because if you do that, if you don't do that, well, your notebook is not going to work because the notebook was written for that specific version and that specific language, right? So I'm going to do this right now, add to project. And you need to select notebook, right? You need to select notebook. Now, you have to do from file, but I wanted to mention that in general, well, you can add notebook as a brand new from scratch. You can do from file, or you can do it from URL if you know the URL of a notebook. And also you can do it from the gallery. There is a gallery of sample notebooks, and you can download the sample notebook to your project as well, okay? So just remember that you can do it. Now I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna go from file. Now I need to find my file. And this is a file, right? Employee attrition. Now, well, here, this is a default, right? We are not using this environment yet. We're gonna use this one. See, you have to use the one that has a Spark, right? So the latest one was Spark 3 and a Python 3.7. See, you might be thinking, 3.8 is the latest, but 3.8 is not available for the Spark yet. So we're gonna still use 3.7, right? This is Python 3.7 and the Spark 3. Well, here, this is extremely important. I don't know how to emphasize this. Because see, if you choose Spark 24, for instance, the code might not work. Because on my end, before assignment was released to you, I tested the notebook in this environment. So I can only bet for this environment, okay? Now, this one, don't worry about the file size. They're not nearly as large. Here, notebook name, it's taken the name from the file name. Well, it's editable, so just remember that. Now, am I ready to create the notebook? Let's double check. So this is as expected. This is the correct environment. It consumes 1.5 capacity unit per hour, and explain you what that means. So this is correct, right? After I check it, it's better to check it 5 times, do it once. Okay, create. Now what's gonna happen? Well, guess. It's gonna start the environment for me, right? Okay. Now there are a few indicators to identify if I still made a mistake, and I'll show you. Well, you want to double check yourself. You want to double check your work as much as you can, because once you make a mistake, it's very hard to fix it. Okay. So, and I'm gonna discuss the errors that I know, but there are also errors that I don't know because every semester somebody does something. Okay, now it's starting the runtime environment. It didn't, right? If the step failed, there is a possibility that your firewall could be blocking, right? You're gonna ask yourself, am I connected to the job VPN, right? I hope no. That's something to ask yourself. Did they select the correct notebook? Things like that. Or sometimes you have to change not trusted to trusted, okay? Now, well, here you have to check too, right? I selected Python 3.7 with Spark, which is correct, right? Now what we're gonna do, next step is, see, this is my data. I see it here, right? Now, when I click on this, I should see the 3 options. If you don't see the 3 options, there could be a problem with caching. So then you would have to log out, log back in, you clear the cache, and then you'll see it. Well, I'm saying that because one of you did not see the 3 options, okay? Now, well, what you'll need to do next is this. So is there a notebook consists of what? Cells, right? And what are the types of cells? There are markdown cells and there are executable cells. Markdown cells It just tells you what the code is about, right? It has a little description. It could have links to external pages. It could have images, etc. So this is not the code that actually runs and produces output, if you will, okay? Now, well, this line of code, this is executable, and it's going to return the version. This code is going to return the current date, right? So, well, first of all, before you run anything, there is a setup steps to do. Remember that you have to add credentials. How many times do we add credentials? Once. How many times do we load data? Once, right? Now, what does the instructions say you need to do? You have to go here and select this, right? You place your cursor in this cell and you go here and go Spark session data frame, okay? Now, well, there are a couple more steps that you need to do is this. You have to change to 1 because this is how this is in the rest of the code, right? Now, there is another thing that you need to do is there is an option that is not added for you by default, and you have to edit manually. And I'll show you it's in here. Option infer schema. See this? So you have to do this. Option infer schema set to true, okay? So let's do this. I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna change header to infer schema, okay? So this is the correct one. And well, what this will do is that you have to make sure that you want to make sure that numeric columns are loaded as numbers, okay? If you don't do this, if you miss this line, then every time when you're doing the calculations, you want to make sure that you're taking an average of the actual number, right? Like an age, for example. If you don't do this, your age will be loaded as a character. Then when you try to compute the average, it's going to do the average ASCII value of an age instead of the average age, right? So this line is important, okay? If you omit this line, okay? If you omit this line, you're going to see unexpected results. Whenever you run the code that returns minimum, maximum, right, and average, you have to make sure that the minimum value is lower than the maximum value, right? If you run that code and if you see that your minimum value is above maximum value, then more likely you missed this line. A lot of students miss this step in instructions, and this step is going to be applicable to assignment 2 as well. When you load data, you have to do this, okay? Now, here, this is correct, right? And what is this? This is a bucket number. You're going to need to take your bucket number, not bucket number from instructions, not bucket number from this demo. You have to take your bucket number, and you have to take it and copy and paste it. You scroll down all the way, and well, there is a cell where it's asking you where you need to replace the word bucket with the bucket name, right? You're going to replace this. Object storage consists of buckets, a bucket per project, right? So you have to put this correct bucket number. This is not bucket name from instructions. This is not bucket name from today's session. This is your bucket name. No, serious, people make mistakes, and I repeat things to make sure that, to reduce the chance that you make mistake, let's say. I cannot prevent making mistakes. Okay, now, when you run the notebook, this is very important. You have to run it starting from the top, right? I'm not going to run the whole thing, but I'm just going to run a little bit, okay? All right. So the date was added intentionally, and anyway, okay, so see this is the Spark version. You see it says 3.02. 2 is a patch number. It's not the main version number. Main version number is 3. Last semester was patch 1. Now we're in patch 2, right? So which means if you took the course last semester, you have to rerun the notebook because See this output, this is different now, right? And also the date when you run it is going to be different. It's intentional because we don't want you to submit anyone else's work from last semester. Sorry. Well, it just speaking from experience, okay? So, well, this is a date. The time might be off because it's looking at the UGC time zone. However, we know that this assignment was assigned in September, so the date should be at some point in September, right? Time is a little bit off. Well, it's understood because it's taken a different time zone, so that's okay. Now, well, what you're gonna do? You're gonna run the rest of the notebook, right? This one, basically what you're doing here is, this code is you establishing the credentials and you're reading the data in a data frame, right? And also the RDD, right? And here, well, it will output the first 5 rows. But one thing I want to mention is that if the cell is running, you're gonna see this little asterisk. If the cell is done, you're gonna see the number. You want to make sure that the numbers are sequential, right? See this? The search are numbers starting from 1, 2, 3, and so on. We are not running the code in random order. We need to run the code starting from the top. I'm not going to come all the way here, run this cell, then go back up and run that cell. No, you have to do it sequentially, okay? Another thing is that there are some graded exercises in there. And the purpose is to make sure that you're not just running the notebook, to make sure that you understand what you're getting when you're running the notebook, right? Well, like for example, here you have to show the summary statistics for average number of hours. But if you go up, it shows you the summary statistics for this one, for another variable somewhere, right? Satisfaction level. See this? It's showing you how to do it for satisfaction level. You're asked to do it for average monthly hours. So you have to work on this in the same order as you see it, right? We don't jump around, you know, right? Well, you keep doing all these graded exercises, and there are 6, right? Okay. And also very important, you're gonna check how many hours you have. You're gonna go to the environment and check hours, and I'll show you that too. So this one, this exercise 6, right? The ungraded exercise that follows, it's based on this graded exercise 6. Remember that here you have 2 grouping columns, right? And each column that you use to group in a select clause must also appear in a where? Group by clause, right? Remember the query has a select part where you say what you're selecting from, where you're selecting from, right? But every time when you're calculating the averages, you have to have a group by, right? Well, like in here, there is an example here, right? You group by department because, well, you're doing accounts per department, right? But if you have 2 columns, you're gonna list 2 columns in the select clause and 2 columns in the group by. Easy on paper, huh? That looks so easy on paper, but when you start doing it, it's a little bit challenging. But, well, we know that it's not as easy as you want it to be. That's why this is ungraded exercise right now at the moment. Beware, you must do it. Ungraded, it does not mean that you can skip it. No, you have to still do it. But it's graded, this time it's graded based on attempt. So to get credit for it, you need to attempt it. It does not have to be correct answer, but it has to be some answer. Well, secretly, exercise that you see as an ungraded today, in the next assignment, you could see something along this line, graded. It's an opportunity for you to practice and check your answer, okay? Now, one thing to keep in mind in here is that your select clause may have multiple aggregation functions, right? Now here, well, you have this attrition. If the value is 1, right, then it means the person left the workspace, okay? So how do we know how many people left the workspace? You have to take the sum, right? When you take the sum of attrition column, it's gonna give you the number of people who left the workspace. Okay, that's enough hints, right? It's a hint. Now, one thing that you may have noticed now, I double click here. This is a markdown cell. So you just run it. When you just run it, it will look back. It will be back again. So when you edit markdown cell, it gets converted to the row cell, right? Like see that here? What you see here, this is a markdown, double hash mark. It means heading, right? This specifies the level of headings. When we have next session for assignment 2, I'm gonna give you more details on markdown code, okay? But for now, let's just run this. And this is a data description, right? Well, I'm not going to run this whole thing, but what I will do is this. This is a very common question. Suppose that I'm done. Let's assume I'm done. What you need to do is this. You have to go here. Watch. This is very important. You need to download this notebook. How do you download this notebook? As HTML, right? You save this notebook as HTML. Now, depending on settings on your computer, right? Depending on your PC settings, and depending on your browser, the file gets saved in some folder, right? Nice thing is that for me, it's saving to downloads. It has to do with my settings, but I'm gonna open the file in the browser. This is a file. Now, do not submit the link to the file because this link over there, it's pointing to the folder on my C drive. So if I'm taking a class and if I submit this link, the instructor cannot open it. You need to submit the file instead. Well, so this folder, in the downloads folder, you have a file where that was saved, right? If I was going to go to downloads folder, or if I go here, well, in this browser, I have an option to download, right? So I can do this, and then here I can do open folder, okay? And it's gonna be the folder where the file is, okay? This is a folder where the file is, employee attrition analysis. You have to find that file, and this is what submit. But what I would recommend, I recommend to do this. So I open this file in a web browser, right? I can print it to PDF. So to print it, you can do right click and select print, or also Control P on Windows. I'm not sure what the shortcut on Mac is. And then for the printer, I'm going to select the Microsoft PDF, right? And this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do print, and it will print the file to PDF. Now I have to name it, right? And I'm gonna say something like attrition output, right? Whatever you want to save it as. And I'm gonna do save. Now I save this output, I save this to my desktop. When I'm ready to submit my work, I would have to go to the desktop and I would have to, this is the files that I would need to attach to assignment folder. Okay. Well, now it says size 0 bytes, but it's still updating. Okay, it's still updating, no problem. Basically, well, what you need to do is you have to submit this output somehow. Another thing, is there anybody on this call who does not know how to count until 2? Well, why am I asking this? Because it says in assignment requirement that you need to submit 2 files. If you submit in 1 file instead of 2, well, you know, how do we teach you how to count until 2? You know, if it's 2 files, then it's 2 files. Pay close attention to what goes in each file. The first file is this output. The next file is the questions, right? Another thing I wanted to tell you about the questions. Pay close attention to how many answer choices to select. If the question has 2 answers, the question stem explicitly tells you to choose 2 answers. There is no surprise in here. If it does not say to choose 2 answers, then you select 1 answer. If it says to select 3 answers, then you select 3 answers. It explicitly tells you how many answers to select. Well, if the question says to select 2 and you selected only 1 answer, how do we teach you how to count until 2? There is no, So, you know, you need to pay close attention to instructions. And I think taking quizzes is important because depending on where you work, sometimes you have to do the certification. Speaking from experience, I had to take certifications where the test is multiple choice. Senior level developers cannot pass the test just because they don't follow the instructions. It says to choose 2 answers, they select 1. It says to choose 3, they select 4, things like that. So it's very important to pay close attention to instructions. If it says select 2, you need to select 2, right? Because if you don't select 2 when it says to select 2, your answer is going to be wrong. Even if the choice you selected is correct, the answer is wrong because you did not follow the instructions. So I don't know how to emphasize this, but somebody always does it. Okay, now what we need to do, I've been talking for a long time, right? My clock is running out here. I have to go to my notebook. I'm done for the day, right? So I'm done. I have to stop the kernel, right? I'm going to shut down the kernel. Now what I'm going to do, I have to go to here, and this is going to be my environments. I need to find it's in administration, and it's under the environments, right? Oops, I close it. Environmental runtime. I need to make sure that I have nothing running. Okay, so this is fine, and I'm fine. Active runtimes, nothing running because I stopped the kernel. But please do yourself and myself a favor. When you log out, you want to go here and check. Make sure that you're not running anything, okay? Because if you keep on running this, then well, you're gonna run out of hours in no time. We don't want this, right? You're given enough hours. Basically, what I did here, I did the math for you. Okay, well, Spark 3 Python environment 3.7 consumes 1.5 capacity unit per hour. So which means this is about 33 clock hours, right? Which is almost 4 days at full-time job. This assignment, writing the code should not take 4 full-time days to do the job. Because look, you're asked to spend 20 to 25 hours per week, but that hour also includes readings, right? And see that it's reading, writing. You should not be running the environment while you're writing the paper. You should not be running the environment while you're doing the readings. So this is an excellent number of hours. It should last you for this month for assignment, for this assignment and for assignment 2. Assignment 3 is a separate story, okay? We'll talk about when we get to it. Okay, well, if you don't log out, if you don't stop the environment, it will be running and consuming the CPUs, okay? Now, well, this is how to check the balance. This is how you check the balance, right? The first column is going to tell you what you've used. The next column, second column is going to tell you what you have left. But you want to check it in here under administrator, because if you check it in a project, it will show you only what you use for that specific project. It's not the time per project, it's time per month. It doesn't matter how much you use within a specific project, because you might be thinking, oh, well, the time is this thing is going down. Let me create another project and I'm going to get new 50 hours. No. This is not the case. So don't think about this. Okay. Okay. Well, there's some sample notebooks. When you have time, or maybe after this class is over, you still have access to the classroom. You can check this if you'd like. Or you can just check without running. You don't need to physically run them. Okay, now the thing is, now I'm going to be, well, I'm going to be a student right now. A student who does not follow the instructions. What do you think about that? Can I be a student who does not follow the instructions? Why not? I was a student, right? So now let's do this. I'm going to go to my, this is a project, right? Let's say I'm going to be really bad. I'm going to do something bad and I'll show you how to fix it. Okay, now I'm going to do here, I'm going to go add to project and I'm going to do create notebook. But remember, now I'm a bad student, right? Well, not bad, but I'm not following instructions. I'm going to do the from file and I'm gonna go in here, right? I'm gonna select my file, but it's in here. And let me rename it. I'm gonna save it as incorrect. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I did not read Elena's instructions. I did not watch Elena's demo session. And I just go ahead and click create. Look, I go ahead and click create. What is the problem? Take a look up here. What am I doing wrong? Think about it. Huh? What am I doing wrong? I'm doing something wrong right now. I'm not selecting the right environment, right? Well, let's see what's gonna happen. What is the indicator here? So it's loading, right? Loading. Let's see what's gonna happen now. Well, it's gonna be the wrong environment, right? First of all, there is no Spark in here, right? I won't be able to run commands that are Spark related. Then I might be getting, now there's gonna be a pop-up. Usually there is a pop-up saying that it's an incorrect kernel. Okay. Well, see this? Well, I just named this file. Okay, see this? Well, it says kernel not found. Do you see this? It says kernel not found. Why did I get this error? Because I did not follow, I'm a student who did not follow Yelena's instructions. Okay. Now, you cannot fix it like this, right? You cannot. Well, if you get to this point, you know that you selected incorrect environment, right? What we're gonna do? Just can say continue without kernel. Now what you're gonna do? You're gonna exit this, right? So you want to exit. There are multiple ways, but you have to be careful here. So I exit this. What you have to do is you have to delete the notebook. But when you delete the notebook, it does not necessarily mean that the environment you used to stop, right? It does not necessarily mean that you stop in the environment when you delete in the notebook, right? So what you have to do now is this. Well, this is the wrong, right? This is what I did incorrectly. I have to delete this, but now you will see what happens. Do you see this? I cannot delete it. Why I cannot delete it? Because it's locked. I need to unlock this. So I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna do unlock, right? Now I'm going to delete, okay? Well, look, I'm deleting it now. The notebook is deleted, but, well, the problem is my environment is still running. My environment is still running. Even though I deleted the notebook, this still runs. What do I need to do? I need to stop the environment. I have two ways to do it. I can do it in a project, or I can also do this. Look, I can do, it's in administration, and it's environmental runtime. I need to delete this here. See, this is, you're gonna click here, that will to stop, right? And you're gonna say delete, but, well, it's actually not delete, it's a stop, it stops it. That's it, gone. But the point here is this. If you selected the incorrect environment, you cannot just swap. You need to delete the notebook. But deleting the notebook does not stop the environment the notebook is running on. You have to stop the environment, right? Well, so those are the steps that you need to take and you need to remember, because otherwise, if you don't, you will be consuming hours that you should not be consuming, okay? So that's my tip. My next tip is this. As you're working on a quiz, make sure that you have the output from the notebook in front of you, because there are some questions on a quiz that are from the notebook output, okay? Some questions are based on the notebook output. So make sure that you have that output in front of you, okay? And don't wait until the last day to download the output. Well, the reason is that what happens if for some unknown reason they're doing maintenance and you can't get to your notebook, right? So please don't wait until the end, because when you wait until the end, you get you kind of like trying to think under pressure. And trust me, not everybody can think on the last minute. and when you are under the time pressure, right? Not everybody can do it. You start getting in a panic and you make errors. Code does not work, etc. So I would not recommend leaving this assignment to the end because, first of all, the plus side is that if you finish this early, you get more time for assignment 2. And assignment 2 is how many? What percentage of your grade? Isn't it like a quarter of the semester work, right? So I recommend getting this out of the way, right? Not waiting until the last minute and working on assignment 2. 2 weeks fly. 2 weeks fly in no time, right? June through August went so fast, so no surprise here, right? Well, and another thing that I mentioned is that you need to record the time. Well, by record the time, I mean you have to take screenshot of this. See, this is a environmental runtime before you run the notebook and then after, okay? Well, the whole idea is for you to notice that you are using up the hours. That's it. You're consuming the hours. Okay? Well, if you took the course before, sometimes there are times when they're running the maintenance and when the counter is not on. I don't guarantee that it would happen. Well, it happened a few times, but don't count on it, okay? But if for some reason you see that you're doing the work and the hours are not changing, maybe there is a maintenance at the time and that time tracker is not on, maybe, but please don't count on it. Let's just assume that the time will be counted at all times, okay? So you have to, when you're done working, you need to stop the environment. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to waste your environment, right? Well, this reminds me like you having the windows open and running AC or running a heat with all windows open, that would remind me that when people waste environmental resources like this. See what I'm saying? So you have to use as much as you need to use. You don't keep it running all the time and abuse it, right? You use as much as you need to use with windows closed, if you will. I'm trying to use utility bills as an analogy, okay? So you don't want to, well, this is the reason why they put this 50 hours, because people used to run the environment all the time when they use it and when they did not, and that created the system performance problems. So this is why they introduced this 50 hours. This is enough to do the work. If you run out of 50 hours, I'm going to talk to you. You will need to submit the case, Salesforce case, and what we do next is based on the individual situation, okay? What I suggest to you, it might not be the same that I suggest to your classmate. And depending on where you stand in the assignment and what an issue is, and etc. Okay? So there is no single solution on what we do here. I don't want to advertise, so if it happens, I'll talk to you about it. But I hope you don't run out of hours, you work carefully. You must learn how to work in the cloud, okay? Now, I've talked long enough. Let me see questions. People, I want you to ask questions. And don't feel shy. There is no such a thing as a silly question. There are no silly questions. All questions have a good reason behind them. So, well, because see, if you have a question, it means your classmate may have the same question. Oh, I wanted to say something else while you're waiting for question. For meetings going forward, I understand that it's a little bit challenging to find a time that works for everyone. So you have an option. An option you have is that you may send the questions. If there's something that you want to be was to go over when we meet, you may let us know ahead of time and we'll try to answer it. So if you have a question and you cannot attend the session, you feel free to send us the question and we'll make sure to cover it as much as we can, right? Like one of you, I believe there was a question on how to save in the notebook, I believe I addressed it, right? So this is very smart. If you cannot attend, you send a question in advance and we will pick it up, okay? So let me see. Okay. Where do we find the unique bracket number? Excellent question. The bracket number is in the code. So let me look at this slides now. Well, you have the slides. When you add your credentials, right? When you add your credentials, there is a piece of code that's gonna get added, right? This is a piece of code that gets added when you add the credential. And this is a bucket name. Object storage bucket name, it's gonna be in the load part. It's in a code that gets built for you at the time when you do this credential cell. And what I did here, and the same thing in the instructions, there is an arrow. The arrow shows you that you need to take what's in here and put it in a bucket. Your bucket is gonna be your bucket number. It is generated as part of the credential code, but also I believe it's also available in the project settings as well. So let me go back. So this is here. I'll see. I think it's also available in the project settings. In addition to that, okay. Well, this is a cloud object storage, but usually I used to see it here. See this? See this when I click on I? This is a bucket also. So it's here. Bucket number is over here. See this? I go to settings. This is a bucket name. It's one way, right? Okay. But the way it is shown to you in the code, the way it's shown to you in instructions is that you get it from the code that was generated for you. This is also correct. See, there is more than one location to get the bucket name. The approach in the instructions tells you to go to this code that was generated, right? And it's over here in the load part. The second parameter, this is a bucket name. So this is correct. The instructions are correct. But this is an alternative way to get the bucket. You can also get it here. See this? If you hover, this is a bucket. Okay. Well, there are two ways. This is one way, and another way it's going to be generated in the code. Oh, and I forgot something else to show you. So I have to go back to the notebook. I forgot something. And it's very important. Usually Lanesh was the one who reminded me all the time. So, okay, let me go back to the notebook right now. So now I open the notebook, right? Well, it's not runnable. Where did this button disappear? It's because I opened the notebook in a view mode, right? I have to open the notebook in the edit mode to be able to edit this, okay? I'm opening it in the edit mode, okay? Now, I'm going to be a student who makes a lot of mistakes and needs to fix them, okay? I made some changes to the code, right? I edited the code. I finally got those exercises to work, and I need to produce a clean run for the submission, right? Or basically, pieces in a code depend on each other. Anytime when I made a major edit to the code, I need to rerun it from scratch. So what you need to do is this: you go to kernel and you do this: restart and clear output. It's important. You have to restart and clear all output, okay, and restart. This is what you need to do in order to redo, right, to rerun from the beginning. Sometimes when you change the code, when you edit the code, you have to rerun the whole notebook from scratch, okay? And this is what you need to do. You go to the kernel and you do this: restart and clear output, okay? Well, you clear the all output and it will generate new output as you run it again. Then you run it again. Well, remember I had some output, right? It was cleared. I did have some output. We ran this command and we ran this command, right? So the output is cleared and now I could run it again if I wanted to, okay? Well, I'm telling you, this information is important and you would probably want to, well, today is what, Thursday, right? I would recommend you're gonna have a recording. Even if you attended this session, I would recommend sometimes like Saturday-ish, sit down and watch it again. And then Well, you want to go through your submission and check if you follow what I said, right? During this session. Okay, make sure all your multiple choice check. If it says to select 2 answers, then you have to be select 2 answers, right? If you select 3 instead of 2, it's wrong, right? Because you did not follow the instruction. If you select 1 instead of 2, you did not follow the instructions. See, so just watch out, okay? Okay. And for ungraded exercises, later the answers will be provided, but not now because we wanted to try. But if you have questions, go ahead, submit the case. Yes, I mean, there were a couple students who needed assistance, and I helped, because I think out of all these languages that we're using in this course, SQL is my strongest. So I'm a good SQL go-to person, if you will. So please take advantage of that. If you have SQL questions, especially SQL, please take advantage of that because, well, SQL is my strongest skill in this course. I'll tell you that. Okay. So we're gonna have more on SQL for assignment 3. But yes, I'll help you with ungraded exercises. I'm allowed to help you with ungraded exercises. I'm encouraged to do that actually. Okay, so I don't want you to be sitting and spending hours. And then I'm gonna look and say, haha, the issue is you forgot to add this column to the group by clause, things like that. So don't hesitate to ask. And the questions will be handled in the order that they were received in. That's important. And the order that they were received in the data queue, because if you don't follow the instruction to submit the case, it's going to go to a different team, right? It's not going to go to me. So you have to follow instructions when you submit the case. And the timestamp that your case gets is the time when it was ended up in the queue. So if your classmates submitted the case correctly, right? Suppose that you submitted the case in the morning, right? And you submitted it incorrectly. Your classmate submits the case at 2 in the afternoon, submits correctly. So your classmates will be taken care of first. Yeah? It does well because the classmates get the date. See, ahead of you, because if you submitted it incorrectly, the date that you get, the time that you get is a time when somebody from another team forwarded it to me. So please be careful. To get faster help, you need to follow the instructions because Salesforce has thousands of cases per day. There is no way for TA to sit down and search through all cases for everybody's name. So how many people we've got? So we cannot just go in and search for everybody's name, right? Another thing is that if you believe that you submitted a case and have not heard back, you must provide the case number because this is how we locate the cases. If case went to the wrong queue, maybe things happen, right? So if you submitted the case and you have not heard back, then you have to provide the case number. Okay, always provide the case number. Okay, and also this is a way to document, like, for example, well, when the assignment is due, I will provide a list to instructors. I'm gonna say who submitted the cases, who I worked with, because if I worked with you on assignment, it tells the instructors that you were working on the assignment, right? So if I help you, right, if I answered your question, it means that on that day you were working on assignment. It's just a proof, it's a documentation, right? So why you have a late submission? Is it because you did not do the work until the end, or why? See, if you have a ticket, it means that no, it's not the case. Something else may have happened, right? You worked on the assignment. I have a case number. You see what I'm saying? But it's it's different from, okay, suppose that you come to instructor on the day when assignment is due and you report having multiple issues and you need an extension. The first thing that your instructor is going to ask you is that if you submitted the case, what is the case number, right? And you don't have a case number. What do you think is that? Is it good or not? No, right? You have to, well, case is a way to document that you were working on an assignment, because if the day when assignment is due, you tell the instructor about the code errors, you'll be asked about the case number. If you never submitted the case, you're not going to have a valid case number. So that's it, you're stuck, right? So you cannot say something like, I asked for TA for help and have not heard back. Then you'll be asked to provide a case number. You don't have a case number, that's it, you know. And for each case, it stores a timestamp. So if your instructor says provide the case number, you cannot go in, just bang, submit a new case and give that case number. No, 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 no. See, you're going to be asked to provide the case numbers that you're waiting for TA to answer. See, some students try to play this game, and please don't do this. I mean, I'll catch it. If you tell instructors they didn't get the response back, you better have the case numbers that you submitted and didn't hear back. Things happen, you know. But you have to always have a case number. And where you get it? After you submit the case, you get an email. And that email has a case number, okay? So remember that. Save it. It's a way to document that you worked with TA. You did not ignore the assignment. And if there is anything that happens beyond your control, no worries. I'm going to let instructor know. See, this is why we have this communication. You know what I'm saying? But if suddenly the day when assignment is due, you're going to tell your instructor that your IBM account is disabled. Well, you know, you don't have any cases. How can we know that you are being, well, I believe you, but there is no way to verify. You see what I'm saying? Well, the cases is a documentation that you did the work. Okay? I mean, I hope it makes sense. Questions? And I think I need Professor Razan to add anything to what I already added. Professor Razan and Professor Garcho, anything you would like to add? Because Professor Razan is still here?
I'm here. Tell me. I'm sorry, one more time, Yelena.
I was asking if there's anything you would like to add, because from your experience of grading the work from past semesters, is there anything? Yeah.
So exactly. So when they make any, you know, post any picture or anything or any solution, we appreciate any kind of, you know, comments and the explanation as well. So like not just post the you know, solution, no, explain us what you are getting out of that, or what's the explanation for the solution. That helps a lot in the grading better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, things to pay attention, because we try to prevent the issues before they happen. That's the purpose of these sessions.
Yelena, I missed it. Did you explain how to get the HTML file?
Yes.
Okay.
I can explain again.
No.
Yes, I did that. Download this, and then you download this HTML, and then I showed how to do the.
No, because actually the result of the tutorial are good. My suggestion is try to understand what you are doing, because it looks like you click, you follow in many cases, and this show up later in the assignment. The grades on the tutorial all are good in general, I'm talking about. All grades in the tutorial are good, students are doing very well, good grade. And then goes the assignment. And what happened is that they blindly did the tutorial and didn't get the idea. So it's not just you click and you got what you're supposed to get. The most important is this is to learn the technology you're going to use. So the most important is you understand what are you doing and why, because later on you won't be able to do the really big assignment. This is the part of learning. So that's my main suggestion.
Mm-hmm. But I noticed that people so focused about the grade rather than on learning the technology. That's the thing.
But that is the complexity. That's why I want again to stress, not only this assignment two is split in two parts. One low weight, which is to learn the technology, and then the measure assignment. The next one is split again the same way because the technology is quite complicated, require integration of different components. And of course, if you pay very close attention, we are providing very detailed step-by-step instruction, you are going to get to the end. But if you don't understand how you get to the end, then you cannot apply this in the measure assignment. And the measure assignment is 20%. This is just 5. The same with assignment 3. We have small portion, low weight, tutorial, you learn the technology, and then the big one. So that is the main thing. Sometimes I feel, oh, we are not doing good for students, giving them so detailed instruction. Because when you're giving this so detailed instruction, you tend just to follow them. And you really, since you don't think what you're doing, you just follow step by step, you actually miss the point, miss to understand what is going on. So that is what I want to stress. Try to understand what you are doing and why. This is the most important part of this assignment.
Because what I hear people say, like always concerned about like losing points, there is nothing to lose. Everything starts from 0, right? So no, I hear people all the time say like, will I lose points if I do this? Sometimes I get these questions on the tickets too. Will I lose points? I'm like, wait a minute, what points are you gonna lose? Do you have points right now? Do you have
okay,
a
let me
100%?
explain.
Yeah.
Let me explain the
Yeah.
grading.
Yeah.
Each assignment has a rubric, and it's not that the grade is 100 and then you lose point. There is no such a thing. I don't know how you read the rubric this way. The rubric is showing the maximum point. So you start from 0 up and you show level of understanding, which is 80, level of better understanding, which is in the middle 80, and level of Excel above and beyond of what is shown and applying the concept, and that is the A. But it's not the other one. It's not from 100 subtracting. There is no subtraction of point.
Yeah. I mean, the question sometimes I get is this: will the instructor deduct points if I do this and this and this? Sometimes I get these questions. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you get this question.
Sometimes.
Well,
no, Ilan, but there are things that the students, I remember that I was a former student. Sometimes the students are more comfortable to ask certain things the TA rather than the
well, I
instructor.
understand that point.
Experience.
Just I don't understand that they were assuming that the grade start from 100. No grade start from 100. You have to reach the 100. Let's put it this way.
Well, yeah, I mean, because sometimes there are things that you're not gonna ask the instructor, but you're gonna ask the TA. I was a student before too, so I understand.
That part I understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with this. I totally understand.
Yeah.
They are afraid. If they are asking me, I'm going to penalize them. Not such a thing, but it's totally understandable. It's human nature.
Yeah, and also, well, I'm not gonna say the specific names, but if you are retaking the course, I mean, don't worry, because what you're doing this semester, it's like, it does not matter what you got last time. It's starting all over, so don't worry. The fact that you're retaking is not gonna have an impact on what you're getting now. Let's say it this way. I don't know how to explain. Whatever happened on the last attempt, it's over. Now it's from the beginning, so no worries. Well, there were some questions that I asked before. That's why I'm saying this. I'm not gonna say names because I promise that I won't.
No, I don't. I prefer you don't say any name. I don't want to know any name.
No. It's just general thing is that the fact that it's your not first attempt, what you're getting now, I mean, what you had before has no impact on what you're gonna get now. So just wanted to say that because I don't know. I don't want to say any names, but I'm just answering the question in general.
I think, Elena, they are not questioning. We should end the session. We don't have to hold up. If they are not question, I see the chat.
Empty. Usually this assignment
no new question, and we should end and say to everyone, nice evening,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And thank you for
Okay.
attending. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Elena.
Bye. Bye. So I'm gonna do.
Elena, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm gonna just end the recording now. Okay.